Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is Jake Nielsen at GovContract Pros. We are just going to wait a couple minutes to allow people time to join. It looks like there are more people joining by the second, so we will get started in just a couple minutes. Thank you. Okay, it appears that we have a critical mass of attendees. Hi, this is Jake Nielsen with GovContract Pros. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation of Can Proposals Be Pleasant? How to Improve the Proposal Product and Win Business. Just a couple housekeeping items. We will have a couple of chances to ask questions throughout the presentation, and then we'll also reserve time at the end for a question and answer session as well. And also make sure to stick around because we will have some prizes to give away at the end of the call. And we would love to have you stick around for that. First place is 6 free hours of proposal consulting and a copy of Writing Business Bids and Proposals for Dummies. Second and third place are also a copy of Writing Business Bids and Proposals for Dummies. Today's webinar is presented by Strategic Growth Advisors Vice President of Proposals, Melissa Palmer. Melissa has provided federal, state, local, commercial, and foreign tender proposal support services to companies across the US for more than 14 years, and her experience spans various industries from correctional equipment manufacturing to satellite imagery, janitorial services, advanced scientific research construction, and cybersecurity. All right, take it away, Melissa.
Thanks, Jake. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for joining in. We have such a good attendance compared to registration. That's always a pleasant thing to have so many people join. So thank you everyone who is taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the call today. This webinar is going to be very high level. A lot of the things that I touch on today, we could go into on an entire other detailed webinar. So this is very high level. It's going to be very laid back. If you're multitasking and doing work, continue to do so. We're just going to kind of relax and talk about the things that are stressful and some of the ways that we can fix that stress for proposals. So I'll go ahead and get started. All right. So this is me. I'm Melissa Palmer. Like Jake said, I've been doing proposals for over 14 years. I've worked with small and large businesses and kind of immersed in the different, pros and cons of working for both of those sizes of businesses. I actually went to school for a chemistry degree decades ago, and I realized taking a prerequisite for that chemistry degree that I very much enjoyed writing about science more than actually participating in the science itself. That way I could write about all of the sciences instead of pigeonholing myself into just chemistry. I had a dean come to me one day and said, "Hey, I've got this company who's looking for a good tech writer. Would you go talk to them?" I asked him, what are they looking for? And he explained it. It was a proposals job. And I said, "No way. I'm not going to talk to them. That's sales. My dad wants me to be in sales, and that is the last thing I want to do." He said, "Just go talk to them, see what they're about." So I did. I went and sat down with them, and they showed me an RFP and a proposal. And I just thought it was the coolest thing, this puzzle that you have to solve. the analysis of the RFP, and then you end up with this beautiful marketing document in response to it that somehow answers all these questions the government was asking. And I fell into it just like the rest of us did. I don't think there's anybody I've ever talked to who works in proposals that went to school for it, knew that's what they were going to do, stuck with it, and is still doing it today. Every single person I've ever talked to, 100% of the time, has said, "Oh, I fell into this, came from some completely separate background and just ended up doing this." So we're kind of a melting pot of people from a ton of different backgrounds, which is really cool and fun, but it also can kind of sometimes add a dynamic of stress in itself. I've seen a lot in my career and I've been in a lot of tense situations. Um, just so you guys know, this is the first webinar in an ongoing series that we're building to help small and large businesses create better proposals. Like I said, this one is the kickstart to that. It's very high level. You're going to be able to multitask while you listen to me, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun. Proposals are a very stressful project, and I'm here to give you some tips on how to change that. We're going to talk about some taboo topics, and we're going to deal with some things that have been sort of an elephant in the room for a long time with what we do. All right, this slide is meant to look stressful. These are some reasons that cause proposal stress. We have short deadlines, lack of preparation, difficulty understanding the requirements, too much legalese in the solicitation, lack of experience in proposals, cost, procrastination. We even have people who come from varying learning and communication styles, a lack of resources, you're working for an unqualified bidder. Um, the government submission systems sometimes are in themselves difficult to deal with and hard to understand. Sometimes they don't work. You end up with, a submission system that fails and now you can't get your proposal in on time. Sometimes the government doesn't care, you were late. You've got writers who don't understand the subject matter, or you've got subject matter experts who don't know how to write. All of these things make proposals extremely stressful. So stop for just a minute and think about what has made proposals stressful for you in the past. I'll give you some examples of mine. Just some things that come to mind here. I've worked a lot of really late nights. I've actually worked a lot of overnights where I didn't get sleep for a good 24 to 48 hours to get a proposal deadline met. And I know there are probably other people on the call who have experienced that same thing and are nodding their head right now. I have been up with a team of 20 people building proposal books until 4 a.m. I can remember one night where we were doing a book check and we're all standing around a big table, and one of my coworkers got a paper cut and bled on a page. And we're all sitting there, it's 3 a.m. We're mad, we're grumpy, we're tired, we want to get home to our families. And the way everyone looked at this woman who got a paper cut and bled on one of the pages is just telltale of the environment that we all live in. I have heard horror stories of people running across the tarmac to get the proposal on the plane. I have been rushing, nearly in tears, driving like a maniac to get to FedEx on time because pricing changed 2 hours before FedEx closes. And I know people are nodding while they're listening to me say that, because that is a real situation that a lot of you have experienced. So what is stress doing to your proposal quality? More than 50% of workers are disengaged at work due to stress, leading to a loss of productivity. So think about that. If you've got 50% of the people on your proposal team disengaged, you've got a 50% loss of productivity. So I found some statistics conducted by a company called SpringWorks, and 91% of workers said that being stressed negatively impacts their work quality. I know you can all agree with that. 41% of workers said that stress lessened their productivity. I know I can agree with that. 33% of workers said stress made them less engaged, 15% of workers acknowledged that they were searching for a new job due to stress. So that means that some of the people on your proposal team are so stressed out that they're actually spending their time looking for a new job and not working on your proposal. Approximately 1 million workers miss work every day due to stress. I know I need to take mental health days. Everybody does. But the more stress that I deal with, the more of those I end up having to take. And those are time taken away from the productivity on the proposal. This is a real problem. And by eliminating the stress involved in it, we become more productive, we put out better proposals, and our company is going to receive more awards. So this is the vicious cycle. You've got proposal stressors, all of the things I mentioned on that scattered slide that we went through, cause you some stress, decrease your productivity, you end up with a bad proposal. You submit the bad proposal, it doesn't get awarded. Now your company is upset because your win rate is down. They put more pressure on you to be better next time, but you've still got the same processes, the same people, the same tools in place, except now it's even more stressful because your company is saying, what have you done for me lately? Where are the awards? And now the vicious cycle is just getting worse and worse and worse. We have to stop that. It's not getting us anywhere. It is a complete dead end. So some questions we're going to cover in these slides. How can proposals be peaceful? So what are some ways that we can stop the constant cycle of stress, low quality, and then even more stress? How can we ensure that good proposals are being submitted, increasing our win rate, leading to increased effectiveness, revenue, and morale? Now our team is less stressful and we're driven to continue winning more awards for our company. It starts with creating peace for yourself. So this is kind of like being on the airplane when the flight attendant says, and I know none of us listen to those anymore, but the flight attendant says to put your mask on yourself before helping others around you, right? Why do we do that? Because we can't help the people around us if we're not making sure that we're helping ourselves first. So we're going to talk about helping ourselves first. So it doesn't matter how much of a deadline you have. It doesn't matter if the turn time on your proposal is 3 days, and yes, that does happen. It doesn't matter if it's a year from now or 30 days. You have to stop and take the time to understand the RFP, the solicitation. You have to take the time to sit down, read the requirements, understand what you're doing so that you can come up with a good process to move forward. So no matter how quick of a turn you're looking at, you need to tell everybody to leave you alone so that you can go in your cave and do whatever you do that works well for you to shred the RFP. Some people like to build a compliance matrix. Some people don't like to build a compliance matrix. Some people like to build an outline in a template or start with storyboards. To be quite honest, whatever works best for you, as long as you're hitting all of the requirements and making sure you're compliant, that's what you should do. Now, your company may flow down requirements to you, like they want to see a compliance matrix and storyboards and so on and so forth every single time, because that's what a certain proposal leading process organization has specified that that's what we should do. And if that's the case, you may have to follow those protocols. But in general, those steps are put in place as a mechanism to help your brain sort out the requirements so that you're making sure you're compliant. So do what works best for you. And if your company requires a compliance matrix, but your brain works really well by printing out the RFP, highlighting it with that orange highlighter that you love, and making notes in the margin with a pencil, do that too, because that's how your brain works. And let's face it, everybody has different learning styles. Do what works best for you. Wrap your head around the effort. Use the tools that work for you. And review your calendar. Do not, when you're reviewing your calendar, forget about your family commitments and your personal commitments, your vacations, that dance recital that you know is coming up, Thanksgiving. Don't look over those. Those are just as important as this proposal. Don't fall into the hostile work environment thought that you should skip over those things and focus on this proposal. There are ways to work around that stuff. And I would ask that, I know we're getting into the team part of this call by saying this, but let your team know that you value those things as well and consider those in your schedule too. Remember that you're a builder, not a magician. So one of the things that's most daunting about putting together proposals is that all you can see is that there's got to be this beautiful proposal product at the end. Nobody expects you to come to the construction site with the house already built. You are expected to come to the construction site with your bag of tools and to do your assigned tasks to help the team build the house. So if you look at it that way, that you're just showing up with your hammer, you're not showing up with the house already built, you will have a more relaxed understanding of what needs to happen next. Some self-care things, not to be too hibbity-dibbity here, but organize your workspace, clear off your desk. I like to do that at every new project. Look at my desk and go, okay, that stuff from the last 3 proposals I've done, that's got to go. Even just like throw it in a box over to the side. We all have those piles of things that we need to go through later. If a solicitation hits your desk and it's due in 2 weeks, you don't have time to go through that stuff right now. So just put it to the side, clear off your desk, buy yourself a new pen, do things that make you feel good about the project and put yourself in a positive mood so that you can focus on what matters. Little things like that are going to create positivity in your environment, which is just going to flow down to your team, which we'll get to. Take a deep breath. Proposals, as dismal as they sometimes seem, are never the end of the world. You're sometimes going to be handed a team that doesn't produce, or a solicitation that looks like someone threw a grenade on it and then fed it to a yak. Breathe. You can do hard things. Take a minute, have some faith in yourself before you jump in. This is so important. Sleep when you're tired. I have literally gotten texts from people on my team at 11 o'clock at night saying, hey, I know I need to have this to you by 8 a.m. I need to sleep. And I will text them back and say, go to bed, get up early and get after it again in the morning. I know you guys have all worked on proposal teams where you've got somebody breathing down your neck and it's 11 o'clock at night and they're going, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Everybody go to bed. Okay, get some sleep because we're all going to work a lot better with a clear mind and some rest. I have been up late at night and been typing and literally sitting there dreaming, thinking I had written the entire section and wake up startled and I've been typing about some dog, you know, who pooped in the park. Like I wasn't even doing the work I thought I was doing. You're not going to get anywhere when you're that tired. Okay, this one's a little bit touchy. But if you can master this concept, you are going to eliminate so much stress for yourself. The proposal does not belong to you. You are responsible for building a proposal that's compliant, compelling, and accurate on behalf of your company. No matter how hard you work, how much sleep you forfeit, that proposal is not yours. And the sooner you accept that it isn't your proposal, that it belongs to the company that you're providing the proposal for, the sooner you're going to be able to let go of those kind of snarky comments that you get at Red Team that aren't really all that nice and are quite offensive. To have that tough skin and to take constructive criticism well and to not have to now take an entire afternoon without being productive because you have to gather yourself and and get over being upset about something that someone said to you. As soon as you decide, well, I'm doing my best on a thing that does not belong to me, you'll be able to handle those with ease. All right, I'm going to stop here and see if anybody has any questions. Jake, has anybody asked any questions so far?
Yes, we have, it looks like we have a question here. We have worked with several proposal consulting firms and they've mostly been kind of difficult to work with. Why does working with proposal consultants always end up feeling like it's more work?
Okay. Um, so proposal consultants can sometimes be sort of a revolving door. They're not an internal full-time employee. And so a lot of times you'll have different consultants who come in and work on different projects. You don't always see like the same proposal consultant come in and be a regular consultant for a company. It happens sometimes if they're really good, but a lot of times you're seeing several different consultants come in one after the other. Um, and so that in itself can make things difficult because now these different people that are coming into your organization and aren't familiar with where to go for things, aren't familiar with your past performance, um, and aren't familiar with the personalities of your internal staff are having to have that ramp up time. They're having to come to you for everything that they need. And so it feels like more work for you because you're having to give them that ramp up every single time. And a lot of proposal consultants aren't really taking the time to be self sufficient in their ramp up. They aren't asking for, okay, give me the the person that I go to for contracts information so I can go directly to them. Give me the place where you house all of your old proposals. Because when you tell me, oh, we wrote about that 6 months ago on that other proposal, um, and then you wait 3 days for them to send you that proposal because they can't find it, because they don't know where they saved it, or it's in an email somewhere. Um, these are all things we're actually going to talk about in some of the upcoming slides. There are a lot of things you can do to make it easier for a proposal consultant coming in to be more self-sufficient, and we'll talk about that. But there are a lot of things that the proposal consultant can do to be more self-sufficient, and those are expectations that you need to set for the consultants and be clear about from the beginning. All right, any other questions yet, Jake?
Great, thank you. Yeah, we have one more so far. Is it possible to follow a standard proposal process for efforts with a fast turnaround time, for example, 2 weeks?
Oh yeah, okay, I like this one. So you can actually create a master proposal process that you use for your organization and then come up with a condensed version for that for those quick turn proposals. So you're still hitting those major milestones. The deliverables change a little bit at each milestone. The expectations of your authors changes a little bit because now they're kind of fast tracked, if you will. But I like to create kind of a master proposal process that covers the ideal 30 to 45 day turn plus you've got some work done during the pre-solicitation phase, and then condense that down for some of those quick turn proposals. Those are typically, those like 2 week turns are typically an RFQ, maybe a task order proposal that comes out under a larger IDIQ effort. They're a little bit different dynamic. They involve a little bit different response for the most part, but sometimes those 2 week turns are because your company didn't decide to go after it until 2 weeks after the solicitation dropped. And that happens. And that requires a conversation of, okay, we can do it. Here is how our process is going to change because we only have 2 weeks to put it together. All of this requires good communication between the stakeholders and a good understanding of what the proposal is going to entail and what you need from them in order to get it done.
Great, thank you. It looks like that's all the questions we have at the moment. Everyone, please feel free to drop your questions in the question portal here on the platform, and we'll have another couple opportunities to go through some more questions throughout the webinar. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. All right, so now we've created peace for ourselves. We've done that intrapersonal work, and now we're going to create peace for our team. All right, so let's talk about setting the tone and expectations for your team early. If we look at the kickoff, the proposal kickoff, as a tool versus an unnecessary meeting, because I know a lot of times proposal kickoffs are kind of for optics, right? So they are to make sure that leadership knows we've got a handle on this opportunity, that we're handling it in a professional manner, that we have done our research and that we know what we're doing here. It's a method to look pretty professional in a lot of ways, and that is the case. And sometimes that is important, but it's also a tool for yourself, because what you're doing is you're setting the stage for everyone involved about what your expectations are, what the schedule is going to be, and you're communicating that all up front so that it's not a surprise later. So we're going to set a positive and productive tone for your whole proposal effort during the kickoff. We're going to set purposeful and meaningful expectations for quality, timeliness, and attitude. We're going to talk about the rules of the roost. We're going to talk about what your expectations are at pink, red, and gold team. We're going to talk about what you want to see from people at those different milestones. We're also going to set standards for review feedback. We are going to nip it in the bud right now at the kickoff. And I don't care how many kickoffs you've been on with the same people, you're going to say it every single time. Every comment, every criticism on the proposal should come with a suggestion of how it should change. Any comments that come without a suggestion on how it should change are going to be thrown out. They are not going to be considered by the proposal manager, who owns the proposal for the process and is in charge of deciding what comments do get accepted and adjudicated at each review. If you get a comment that says, "This section is crap," throw that comment out. Don't even give it to your author. There is no reason for the author to see that. Go talk to the person that made that comment and ask them, tell me what you think is not good about this section and give me suggestions on how it should change. And if they cannot do that, then their comment is not valid and it doesn't even need to be flowed down to the author. Don't set the tone that we have no place bidding this, that we don't have the resources to complete the proposal, the solicitation is a mess, there's no way to be compliant, this is rigged for the incumbent. Those type of comments are just creating a lack of faith in your team and a lack of motivation to do the things that you expect of them. There's no point in doing any of that. And the proposal status meetings should be a follow-up to the kickoff. So it's a reiteration of what the expectations are. It's a check-in to see where people are with the expectations you're setting forth for them. All right, be like this dog. Everyone should always be like this dog. This dog is my favorite meme. I reference him probably 2 to 3 times a day in my personal life and in my professional career. Handle speed bumps with grace. Okay, the house is on fire. The dog is just sitting there and he's like, this is fine. Because you know what? It is fine. It doesn't matter what's going on. You can handle the situation with grace. And unforeseen problems are going to happen. It's how you handle them that will determine your success. People are going to remember after the proposal is done, man, Jake handled that problem so well. I was so impressed with how he handled that and how we were able to fix the problem and move on. People remember that. People remember that 10 years later. And when they've got a proposal effort that they want you to work on or that they need help on, they're going to call you because they remember how you handled things with grace. Because everybody knows no proposal goes smoothly, but it's how you handle the problems that matter. Every issue comes with just enough time to understand the problem and get the right people involved to solve it. Every issue in your entire life. You will have time to understand what the problem is and get the right people involved. For example, if you get a phone call that rattles you, listen to what the person has to say. Don't react emotionally. Gather the information you can, and then politely suggest a meeting to discuss that with the affected stakeholders and authors. If you can do that, if you can gather yourself and take the time to do that, you're going to look so cool. Frankly, I don't know another way to say it. You'll look so cool. It's kind of like when you want to tell somebody off through email and you type out that email, which by the way, I recommend if you do that to do it in a Word document, not the email, because you can accidentally hit send, but type out the email, type out what you want to say in a Word document, and then save it, put it somewhere, get rid of it for now. Wait till tomorrow. Respond politely to everything, no matter the tone and messaging that comes across to you, and handle it with grace. And that's what people remember of you. Promote rest for your team. Like I said, I've had people text me at 11 o'clock at night and say, I have to go to bed. Go to bed. Give your team reasonable deadlines. Build in time for them to rest. Don't be that proposal manager or that manager that builds weekends and evenings into your proposal schedule. That is a terrible idea. We all know that people are going to have to work weekends and evenings if it's a tight deadline, but reserve that, save it. It's a buffer. Don't schedule it in, because then you don't have any buffer. You don't have any extra time to work with. So schedule around weekends, schedule around evenings. Let people go pick up their kids from school. Let them go take them to gymnastics. People work well having milestones and deadlines, and for the most part, they'll meet those milestones and deadlines. You don't have to micromanage their weekend. Save that. Save it in case you get in trouble and get in a bind. Boycott unnecessary meetings. Don't schedule your late Friday or early Monday meetings unless they're absolutely necessary. I save those for crisis. Meetings during those times have low attendance and low attention spans. I have been on so many meetings on Friday afternoon, late Friday afternoon, where people are just ready to get out of there to go to happy hour. And that is what it is. If you're going to schedule a Friday afternoon meeting, you can expect to have low attendance and people not paying attention, unless it's like crisis mode and everybody is focused because we have a problem to deal with. So reserve those times. And having that respect for people needing to kind of shut down on a Friday afternoon, because we all do it. We mentally check out on Friday afternoon. We're thinking about all the things that our kids have going on this weekend. We're thinking about that birthday party that we have to take our kids to, and how am I going to handle dealing with that super annoying mom that's going to be there. And those are the things that we're thinking about on Friday afternoon, not this proposal. So just know that and anticipate it. Don't book meetings without distinct inputs, objectives, and deliverables. Have the respect for the people attending the call to have some sort of an agenda that you're talking through. If you've got a team of 10 authors attending a meeting that is just for optics to leadership, you just lost 10 man hours of proposal work. You just lost 10 hours of writing on your proposal so that you could show leadership you're in control. You're not in control. You just lost 10 man hours. Cancel meetings that aren't necessary. If you've got a status call and you know everybody needs to be heads down working on the proposal and you really don't have any updates for the team, cancel it. But explain, hey, I don't have any updates for the team. Let's keep working. Encourage your team to eat well, be with their families, rest, and exercise, and lead by example. Do that for yourself. Give your team the ability to have autonomy and responsibility. Trust them to do a good job and give them the expectations to guide their success and the resources they need to get there. It's amazing how much more productive a team can be by not living on 2 hours of sleep, way too much coffee, and a conference room filled with candy and chips. And this shocked me when I read it. Dehydration has real impacts on performance. 3% dehydration can slow a person's reaction time the same extent as 0.08 blood alcohol content and decrease work productivity by 25%. That is incredible to me, but it makes sense because I am an idiot when I'm dehydrated. I can't think, I can't focus, and I'm just tired. Let's talk about boilerplate, and I'm gonna go through this quickly so that we have enough time for questions and the giveaways at the end here. But it's okay to use boilerplate in your proposals. It's not okay to copy and paste it and expect it to be compliant. It's not going to be. It is a jumping off point. It's a start. So you're going to use it to be kind of the skeleton for the section that you need to write, because it's usually a standard operating procedure, or it's a standard process that your company wants to talk about in their technical approach. And that is going to be the same every single time, but it needs to be tailored to the specific requirements of the proposal at hand. So it's not Control C, Control V. And yes, this is an actual keyboard that you can buy on Amazon, which would be a very funny prank for some of your proposal coworkers this Christmas, just so you know, and I think it's only like $15. But that is not the correct way to use boilerplate. Graphics are the same way. You should keep them in an editable format so that you can reuse them on future proposals, but you need to be able to edit them to change the names of the customer and things like that. Help your team be self-sufficient. Provide them with POC lists so they know where to go for contracts, pricing, program POCs. Have a content repository with your company data, your boilerplate, your past performance information. Make your team capable. And don't make yourself the bottleneck in the process. We have all known those people that hold on to information because they're scared that if the people around them know those things, that they'll do better than them and that they'll lose their job. That's not a good way to be. Those people are super stressed out because they're the bottleneck for everything. Don't be that person. Be specific in your data calls. So if you go out to a teammate and you're asking them for past performance, don't just say, hey, what are your relevant past performance citations? Give them an outline that is outlined down to the nth degree, or else you're going to get information back in a way that you didn't want it. So if you want it to look a certain way, be very pointed in your outline. Outline it down to the sentence. And that way you're going to get back a product that's way easier for you to work with than just asking them for their 3 most relevant past performance citations. Okay, this is huge. A lot of proposal teams do not implement lessons learned. And they do that because they're scared, honestly. They're scared to hear that negative feedback. But it's so, so, so important. So here are some things we can do. And actually, we're going to be coming up with a webinar that deep dives into lessons learned later on, but just some high level points that are going to help you guys. Don't be afraid to hold those lessons learned discussions. Give stakeholders a chance to talk about what worked and what didn't, but you're going to guide the conversation. So always point out what the team did well. And in the days leading up to your lessons learned, you're going to ask the stakeholders, all of the people who are going to be on the call, for 3 to 5 lessons to be learned and productive suggestions on how to improve the process. Limit your lessons learned to 30 minutes. We don't need to go on and on and on about how Debbie is always taking breaks and she never gets anything done and her voice is so squeaky and annoying and I hate talking to her on the phone. We don't need to do that. 30 minutes, that's all you need. Have each person go through 3 to 5 things, come up with a plan to implement the improvements, and then actually implement them on the next proposal. This is very high level. We're going to get into more detail on this on a future webinar, but if you just use those high level techniques, it makes a lessons learned so easy. And actually it strengthens your team too. It builds trust within your team. All right, So we left a little bit of time to go over some more questions and then we'll do our giveaways. Jake, did anybody else ask any more questions?
Yeah, we have a great question here that just came in a little while ago. How do you deal with pushback from the estimating team and GM regarding implementing the proposal process? I feel like I'm alone.
Oh, that is such a good question. Um, wow. Okay. So I don't care what your job is at a company, you understand that processes are what we need to make, to make things work, right? So I don't care if you're an estimator, a GM, someone on the leadership team, we all understand that processes are what make things work. When processes become a problem is when you're working with a process just to have a process. And a lot of times with proposals, I'll be quite honest, that is the case. There are a lot of processes that are widely accepted within our industry that are put in place to just have a process, to make what we do look really cool and like it's impossible unless you use this process. That is a PR technique. It is a marketing campaign. Um, Not every company needs to use the same process. It's not a one size fits all. Um, and working with people who understand the need for flexibility because of, like I said, different learning styles, different team dynamics, different organization, sizes. Um, Coming up with a process that works for your team is what's really important. And sitting down with those estimators and that GM and saying, okay, we obviously have to have some milestones. Building a proposal is an iterative process. You can't just say, okay, go forth and build a proposal and show me when it's done. You have to have drafts where people are giving feedback. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a proposal a day before it's due, and people are now coming in with the good idea fairy and saying, I need you to rewrite this technical approach because it's not how I want it written. That's not going to work. So there need to be at least some milestones for your draft, but sit down with those people and say, okay, let's come up with a couple of milestones and how that's going to work for our team and develop a process that works for your company. It doesn't have to be the big, 92 step BD life cycle. You guys know which one I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be the full on life cycle. You can come up with what works for your company.
Great, thank you. We have another question that just came in. How do you deal with an SME who is not responding to your requests?
Oh, I guess it depends on if it's an internal SME or if it's and SME, just so anybody who doesn't know, that's a subject matter expert. If it's like someone on the program, I can see that being the case. They have a day job. They're the ones out there running the program or working on the program that's already in place. And we might be going to them and saying, how does this work so that we can add more business to our company? And frankly, they're so focused on doing the work that it's hard for them to wrap their head around why now they have to do this extra side work, on top of their day to day, and they're not getting paid anymore to help out. Um, there are a couple ways around that. So, you can build, um, hours into like your BD budget to somehow incentivize that person outside of their normal compensation for helping out on proposals. You can find outsourced subject matter experts. Um, and if anybody has any questions on where to find those people, you can reach out to me directly. I can help you with that. Um, Typically, people aren't responsive because they're busy with other things, not because they don't want to be. And if it's because they don't want to be, you need to find somebody else.
Great, thank you. Earlier, you touched on the boilerplate repository, and there's a question about somebody says they don't have time or resources to build a boilerplate repository or a past performance database because they're always in reactive mode and working on multiple proposals at once. So can you give some advice on how to build those tools while keeping up with the rush of business?
Yeah, there are a couple ways you can do it. You can bring somebody in to help you with that while you're focused on your proposal work. That actually works pretty well because you've got someone actually going through and putting a third set of eyes on work you've done in the past and pulling out what's good and what's not good. So that can actually be pretty helpful. You can ask your leadership to give you a reprieve in your pipeline of proposals that you've got coming up, so that you can focus on some of those things that will set you up for success on future proposals. Um, you can set aside a Saturday to get in and focus on that. And if you're not scheduling weekends and evenings into your proposal schedule, you have time to do that. Um, you can have a proposal coordinator be tasked with, at the end of a proposal, doing that knowledge management type work where they're pulling out those good past performance citations and pulling them into a repository, updating a proposal past performance matrix that is kind of a key in your past performance database so that people can reference it and see what relevancy your past performance citations have. You can have the authors be tasked with pulling out that good technical approach or management approach content that they've written, and creating kind of a master template copy of it to put in their repository. There are a lot of ways to carve out the time to build that, and it only sets you up for being faster and better on future proposals.
Great, thank you. And we have one more question here. I'm a proposal manager, but I'm not a strong writer, but all the writing seems to fall on me. I've been given a budget to hire a writer, but I don't trust anyone to do a good enough job or know enough about the company to write good content. Where can I find a good proposal writer?
Oh man. Okay, so hiring new proposal people kind of feels like dating sometimes. We all have to work so closely together that personalities clash, capabilities can maybe not be the right fit. Um, Sometimes the best route to go if you're trying to supplement your proposal resources is to look at outsourcing. And that's actually what SGA does, Strategic Growth Advisors. So we have a team of all types of proposal resources, from managers to writers, the works. And we kind of build a right sized supplement fit to what your needs are. And there are a lot of consulting firms out there that do that. But if anybody has any questions about how that could work for your company, please reach out to me directly. We only have a couple minutes left, and I want Jake to be able to do the giveaways. But feel free to reach out to me directly. To ask any questions about how we can maybe help you guys out with that.
Yep, and can you share your email address just so everyone knows how to reach you?
Yes. Yep. So I'm just Melissa Palmer, or dot Palmer, I guess, Melissa.Palmer at stratgrowthadvisors.com. And we can send an email out to all of the attendees with that information after the call as well.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so I think now we're ready for our drawing for the three prizes. And just as a refresher, second and third place will be receiving a copy of Writing Business Bids and Proposals for Dummies, and first place will be a copy of Writing Business Bids and Proposals for Dummies, along with 6 free hours of proposal consulting. So without further ado, we will go through and do our drawing. Let's see. Okay, for the third place prize, we have Ronnie Germain. So Ronnie, congratulations. Please send an email to proposals@stratgrowthadvisors.com with your contact information, and they will gladly send you a copy of your prize, which is Writing Business and Bids and Proposals for Dummies. Let's see. Number Second place is Danielle Pruitt. Congratulations. And again, please email proposals@stratgrowthadvisors.com. And oh, I forgot my drum set. I was going to do a drum roll here for the first prize. We have Maria Lilly. Congratulations. You win a copy of Writing Business Bids and Proposals for Dummies, along with 6 free hours of proposal consulting. So again, please reach out to proposals@stratgrowthadvisors.com to collect your prize.
That's awesome. Congratulations, guys. And I wrote all your names down too so that I can follow up with you as well. But yeah, if you could send an email to proposals@stratgrowthadvisors.com with your contact information, and we'll get those prizes out to you guys. Well, I hope to see you guys on future webinars with us. Watch for those to be announced on LinkedIn and via email. We're going to be deep diving into some of the things that I discussed on this call and some other topics. I think our next webinar is going to be about using SharePoint for proposals. And so we'll be putting the use of SharePoint into layman's terms, show you how to build a SharePoint site that's useful for proposals for your organization, and how to build the structure for those content repositories that I talked about on this call, so that you guys can start to start housing your boilerplate and your past performance information. So watch for that to be announced. Right.
Great.
Well, that's all I had. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you and take care.
Bye, guys.